everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Alex and today I'm going to be bringing you my September TBR. Now this is going up a few days before the end of August, so we still have yet to see how the rest of the month turns out, but it has been kind of a weird month so far. Typically my reading goes that I read hardly anything in the first half of the month and then read everything in the second half of the month, but for August it has actually been reversed. I read a ton in August. My mid-month wrap-up actually included 12 books, and the second half of the month I have read barely anything. I got into a major reading slump and I'm now finally starting to come out of it, so I'm hoping that September is going to be a little better and we can pick it all back up. In terms of numbers, August has been a really good reading month, but being in a slump at this point in the month is just really weird for me. So I'm hoping that September will be different, but regardless, this isn't a wrap up, this is a TBR. So my TBR is about the same size that it usually is, but I'm not trying to put a ton of pressure on myself. The only ones on this list that I for sure want to read are my October arcs. I like to read my arcs a month in advance, so I have 2 arcs that I am definitely going to be reading in September, and other than that, my calendar is pretty much open, so the rest of these are just some that I would really like to get to, but it's not going to be the end of the world if I don't read them. But without further ado, let's get started. So the first arc that I have is Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett, and this is due to hit shelves on October 29th. I have received an e-arc through NetGalley. This book follows our main character Simone, who has just moved to a new school and is trying to get acclimated. She meets a boy that she really likes, and she's trying to keep it the secret that she is HIV positive. So whenever her relationship starts to blossom, she's trying to figure out how she is going to breach the topic because things didn't go over so well last time at her old school when people found out about it. I have not heard any early reviews on this novel, so I'm going in pretty much blind, and I've never read from this author before either, but I am really interested to see what it has to say, and I've never read about the subject before, so we'll see how it goes. The next arc that I'm going to be reading in September is Sassafras by Trish Heald. This one comes out on October 1st, and I was given an arc by the editor and author. This book is being pitched as similar to Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine and A Man Called Uwe. A Man Called Uwe is one of my favorite books of all time, so I thought that this one would be right up my alley. This story follows a widow that hates the retirement community that he lives in. He doesn't want anybody around. He just wants to be left alone to be able to drink beer and fish and do his own thing. But then his daughter decides to start renting out his cabin as an Airbnb, and this man is confronted with all these neighbors, and hopefully they bring him out of his shell. I think that this is going to be a really heartbreaking and heartwarming story, and I am excited to get to it, and you guys will definitely be hearing more about it on my channel once I finish it. Now I do have a couple of books from Book of the Month YA that I'm wanting to get to. As always, I have a link down in my description if you are not a member yet of Book of the Month YA and you want to sign up. I have a link down in the description you can use to go and do that. Also, if you are a book influencer, if you have a Bookstagram or a BookTube account and you want to become an affiliate with Book of the Month YA, there is a separate code in the description for you to click on and go to apply for that. So the first one I want to read is Mind Games by Shanna Silver. This was my August pick for Book of the Month YA, and I did not get to read it in August, so I'm hoping to read it in September. This book is set in the I think near future, and it follows our main character named Arden. Now Arden sells memories, and one day she comes to find out that all of her own memories have been stolen. So she teams up with a boy named Sebastian who has also had his memories stolen, and they have no memory of anything but have to go and try to figure out who did this to them. I've never read from this author before, and I haven't heard anybody review this. It sounds like something that is completely different from anything that I've ever read, and I'm really excited to dive in. My next Book of the Month book I actually don't have quite yet, but I'll pop a picture over here, and that is Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi. Mary H.K. Choi is the author of Emergency Contact, which I also have and also plan to read in September. Emergency Contact follows 2 characters, Penny and Sam, who both feel like they're pretty lost in life, don't really know what they're doing. They meet each other, strike up a friendship, and continue that friendship and potential relationship mainly over text. Permanent Record follows our main character Pablo, who really doesn't know what he's doing with his life. He is just working at a deli, trying to figure out things one day at a time. And we also follow Leanna, who is a child celebrity, and she has grown up in the spotlight her entire life. She knows nothing different. And one random morning, 4 o'clock in the morning in the middle of New York City, these 2 characters meet, come together, and we get to see how their lives change. I think that both of these novels sound really interesting. They kind of sound like slice of life, not really hardy-hitting contemporary, but not completely fluffy either. I really hope that they're going to both strike a nice balance, and I'm just excited to get to them both. I'm also hoping to do one reread this month, and that is going to be Looking for Alaska by John Green. There is a Hulu original series adaptation of this novel coming out in October. I'm so excited for it. This novel was originally published in 2005, and we have been waiting ever since then for an adaptation of this, and I am so pumped. This novel follows our main character Miles, who goes away to a boarding school and meets and falls in love with this girl named Alaska. In my opinion, this is really a classic of YA literature. This, I remember absolutely loving it the first time that I read it, and it has been a long time since I read it, at least 4 or 5 years. So I'm really excited to dive back in, and then hopefully the show will be just as great. The last physical book that I have to read this month is A Light Too Bright by Samuel Miller. This is one that I picked up completely on a whim because the cover got me. This is an absolutely stunning cover, and I have never heard a single person talk about this, so I want to dive in and see for myself. This book follows our main character, Arthur. And Arthur's grandfather had lived in California, and one day he just disappeared from his home for a week, and after a week he was found dead in Ohio. Nobody knows what happened to his grandfather during that week that he was missing. Arthur is going through some trouble in his personal life, so he is sent to live with his aunt and uncle, and at their house he finds a journal from his grandfather that he thinks might give him some answers. He ends up going on a cross-country train ride trying to make sense of what he reads in his grandfather's journal, and hopefully that will explain a little bit more about his family and what happened to his grandfather during that week before his death. This is a debut novel, and I think that the plot sounds really, really interesting, but I also think it sounds really, really ambitious. So I'm going into this cautiously optimistic and hoping that I will love it. The next book on my radar for the month is The Borrower by Rebecca Makkai. This book follows Lucy, who is a children's librarian, and one day her favorite patron, a 10-year-old little boy named Ian, runs away from home. Ian's mother has enrolled him in weekly anti-gay classes, and Ian wants Lucy's help to get books past his mother. Lucy finds Ian camped out in the library one day trying to get away from his home, and she takes him on this crazy road trip. This is again another one that I have not heard anybody talk about, but the premise sounds really interesting and thought-provoking to me, so again, we'll see how it goes. And the last one I want to briefly mention is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I have a huge yearly TBR, and Pride and Prejudice is on it. I'm not even going to explain to you what it's about because everybody in the world has read this novel other than me. So I figured it was time for me to go ahead and get on it. So those are all the books that I'm hoping to get to in the month of September. Again, I'm trying really hard not to put too much pressure on myself, but we'll just have to see how it goes. So if you have read any of these books, let me know your thoughts on them in the comments down below, and also let me know what you're planning to read in September. I love to chat with you guys in the comments, as always. If you like what you saw today, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below, as well as the bell icon so that you don't miss any of my content. So until next time, bye!